Hi everyone, welcome back to Clat Possible. Today we are here with another concept that really matters for Clat is the concept of vicarious liability. A lot of you might have come across this concept if you have studied torts already, or if you have gone through the syllabus or the books of for Clat legal reasoning. You must have seen this concept very often. So let me tell you, it's a very important concept, and a lot of times questions from this area in particular have come up in your exams, and I would again say it's a Clat favorite topic. They heavily ask questions from this particular topic. Okay, and in this entire concept, there is only one particular aspect of this which is the most important, I would say, which is the most critical part of the entire concept, from where the majority of questions would come up. And if you understand that part, I'm sure you can attempt all the questions of vicarious liability properly. So I want to give you some time to have a look at this. So what is vicarious liability? If I am an employer, and I have an employee who works for me, if he does something wrong during the performance of what he has been hired for, okay, during the performance of official duty, if he does something wrong, then I am liable for him under the torts. I have to pay compensation on his behalf. Okay, so in other words, this rule is known as a master is liable for the wrongful acts committed by a servant in the course of employment. Okay, master can be replaced with the term employer. Wrongful act होना चाहिए committed by a servant, जिसको हम बोल सकते हैं employee. एंड जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, जो सबसे क्रिटिकल चीज है, दैट इज कोड्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट. तो liability of master will come only when the servant was in the course of employment. Let me give you a very simple relatable illustration to you. Let us say you go to a coffee shop, you order a cup of coffee, and the waiter was coming to you to serve the coffee, and he was holding the tray negligently. Because of the negligent holding of the coffee tray, he when he was trying to serve the coffee cup to you, he negligently spilled the coffee on your thigh, on your clothes. Okay, that caused burn injuries to you, also damage to your clothes. Now the negligence was of the waiter, right? But for waiter, the compensation has to come from the master. Understand that. For waiter, the compensation has to come from the master. Okay. Now that means what will happen? This is the customer, this is the waiter, and this is the owner. So waiter has caused damage to the customer while performing a job, while performing authorized official job. ठीक है, ये बहुत जरूरी है. What was the waiter doing? उसका काम क्या था और वो क्या कर रहा था? This is very important. You have to have a relationship between what he was authorized to do and what he was doing. ठीक है, तो इसका जो compensation है वो ओनर से आएगा. ठीक है, let us say the total amount of money that is demanding is 25,000. So the waiter will not pay this money, the owner will pay this money. Of course, the waiter can be terminated from the job, whatever the owner can, would like to do. That is his discretion. We are not concerned with that. But we are only concerned with one point, that for the wrongs committed by the servant or the employee, the money has to come from the owner. This is called vicarious liability, and it has three essentials. First of all, there must be a servant. Okay, this is the master and this is the servant, or let's say employer and employee. So there must be a servant. Now, who is a servant? Somebody who can be hired and fired at your discretion, and a person whose control lies with you. If there is a person who is acting under my control, complete control, he is under obligation to listen to me, he is under obligation to follow my instructions, then he is a servant in the eyes of law for me. Okay, then that servant must have done something wrong. This is also important. कुछ गलत करना पड़ेगा. If he has done nothing wrong, then obviously the master cannot be held liable. He has to do something wrong. And the third most important thing is everything. This servant must have done this wrong in the course of employment. Course of employment क्या होता है? दो चीजें कवर होती है. First of all, as you can see, either the wrong should be authorized by the master. मतलब या तो मास्टर ने खुद ही बोला है कि कुछ गलत कर लो, ठीक है, या फिर जो अनऑथराइज्ड एक्ट हुई है मस्ट बी डन रॉन्गली. तो अगर कोई ऑफिशियल एक्ट या फिर कोई ऑथोराइज्ड एक्ट इसको परफॉर्म करते समय कोई गलती हुई है, समझना बात को, ड्यूरिंग द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ दिस, ड्यूरिंग द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ ऑथोराइज्ड एक्ट अगर कुछ गलत हुआ है, यानी कि when the negligence was committed, when the wrong was committed, something authorized was being done. Remember these words, I repeat, when the wrong was committed, something authorized was being done. If that is the scenario, then the master is 100% liable. Okay, remember this. You need to find the connection. I am repeating, you can understand it like this. While doing authorized act, he did something unauthorized. This is the formula that makes the master liable. I repeat, while doing something authorized, he did something unauthorized. That's what makes the master liable. Now let's look at a few cases to understand this. Look at this question. So as you can see, यहाँ पे confusion क्या होगा कि he offered to drop her at home, which happened to be close to the office. Now understand, close to the office. So ये जो act है, he gave lift to somebody which was close to office. इसको हम बोल सकते हैं unauthorized act या फिर बोल सकते हैं wrongful act. But do understand what was the formula. The formula is that if during unauthorized act something was authorized. So I want to know from all of you, did he deviate from his job completely? Did he completely distract himself from his authorized job? Answer is no, clearly. He was still performing his job. Okay? He was not distracted completely from performance of job because जिसको उसने लिफ्ट दिया है उसका जो घर है वो ऑफिस के पास ही है. That means he doesn't need to make extra efforts. He doesn't need to change his direction. He doesn't need to distract himself too much for performing this unauthorized act. So दोनों चीज साथ में हो रही है. जब वो अपना ऑथराइज्ड काम कर रहा था, यानी कि जब वो अपना ऑफिशियल काम कर रहा था, उसी के परफॉर्मेंस के टाइम पर ही हैड टू डू समथिंग रॉन्ग, which makes the master liable. I have told you, authorized act along with unauthorized act holds the master liable, and therefore the right answer has to be A. Confusing question लग सकता है आपको, लग सकता है कि he was not allowed to give lift, but वहां पे केस खत्म नहीं होता. हमेशा आपको देखना है whether the lift was given independently or in isolation or during the performance of authorized act. कुछ ऑथोराइज्ड कुछ ऑफिशियल काम उस टाइम पर भी होना चाहिए. इफ यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड दिस, देन you will definitely do vicarious liability based questions properly. For your clarity, there is another question. Look at this. Now in this case you can clearly see D goes to a close by tea shop to have a cup of tea. The moment he came out of the office, this was the office, let's say, जैसे वो बाहर निकला, he is out of employment, and अब जो भी कुछ यहाँ पर हो रहा है, this will not make the master liable. क्यों? Because it is completely unauthorized act. What is happening here is a completely unauthorized act. Remember, now there are two rules. If there is an authorized act if there is an unauthorized act during the authorized act, the master is liable. In the previous case we saw that. And the second rule is when there is an authorized act which is completely unauthorized, At this point, nothing authorized was being done, nothing official was being done, and therefore the master is not liable. Okay, so the answer should be option C, which says that picking up fight was not committed in the course of employment. They're all basic sense, basic common sense based questions. ठीक है, तो एक बार रूल को वापस समझ लेते हैं. अगर ऑथराइज्ड एक्ट के साथ में कुछ अनऑथराइज्ड एक्ट होता है तो मास्टर लायबल होता है. बट अगर इफ there is no authorized act but only unauthorized act completely, then master is not liable. ये जो formula है, if you can understand, retain this formula in your mind, I'm sure you will have a greater accuracy in the questions of vicarious liability. For more such concepts, do like, share, and subscribe this. Do like and share at this video and subscribe the channel if you haven't done it already. And we will keep having detailed, elaborate discussions on concepts like this in future. So do subscribe the channel for sure and drop your questions or queries in the comment box. Thank you so much.